In the heart of a forgotten forest, shrouded in the thick mists of time and untouched by the warmth of the sun, lay a village ensnared by an ancient curse. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of the ice-cold hand, a spectral entity whose chilling touch left its victims frozen in fear, their souls imprisoned in a state of eternal dread. As the moon climbed high, casting a silvery glow upon the twisted, gnarled trees, a dense, unnatural fog crept over the village. The air grew cold, so cold that breath turned to frost and the ground hardened beneath one's feet. It was then that the villagers knew the ice-cold hand was near, prowling the shadows, searching for its next victim. The legend of the ice-cold hand stretched back centuries, to a time when the village was a prosperous settlement, blessed by the bounty of the forest. But greed led the villagers to desecrate a sacred site, unleashing a wrathful spirit upon them. With every touch, the spirit's icy grip claimed another soul, leaving their bodies as lifeless statues of ice, eyes wide with terror, mouths agape in a silent scream. Over time, the forest itself seemed to mourn, its once vibrant life now withered and dying. The trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their branches clawing at the sky like the fingers of the damned. The animals fled, leaving behind an eerie silence, broken only by the whispering winds that carried the lamentations of trapped souls. On a night when the fog was thickest, a young villager named Elias, with a heart as brave as it was pure, ventured into the forest. She sought to end the curse, armed only with ancient talismans and a will of iron. Guided by the whispers of the spirits and the glow of the moon, she found her way to the heart of the forest, to a clearing where the air shimmered with a ghostly light. There, amidst the clearing, stood an altar of stone, encrusted with frost and surrounded by the statues of the ice-cold hand's victims. And there it appeared, a figure cloaked in mist, its form shifting and swirling like the fog itself. Its hand, skeletal and covered in a sheen of ice, reached out towards Elias, promising eternal despair with its touch. Elias stood her ground, reciting incantations of old, her voice steady despite the cold that threatened to engulf her. As the words of power filled the air, the talismans glowed with a radiant light, piercing the fog and revealing the true form of the spirit, a lost soul, twisted by anger and sorrow. With compassion in her heart, Elias spoke to the spirit, offering release from its torment. As the spirit's tale of betrayal and loss poured forth, the icy grip around the forest began to thaw. The statues of ice shattered, freeing the souls trapped within, who ascended into the night sky in a cascade of light. As dawn broke, the villagers awoke to find the curse lifted. The forest teemed with life once more, the air filled with the songs of birds and the rustle of leaves. They found Elias in the clearing, exhausted but unharmed, surrounded by the remnants of the statues, now just puddles of water reflecting the rising sun. The legend of the ice-cold hand became a tale of redemption, of understanding and forgiveness. The villagers never forgot the sacrifice and bravery of Elias, who had faced the heart of their fears and emerged victorious. And though the forest was now a place of beauty and life, on certain nights when the fog rolled in, some claimed to feel a chill in the air, a reminder of the ancient curse and the price of greed. But they also remembered the power of courage and compassion, knowing that even the coldest of shadows could be overcome by the light within. Years passed, and the tale of the ice-cold hand faded into legend, a story told to children on cold winter nights. But deep within the heart of the village, a dark seed of unease began to grow once more. The forest, once vibrant and teeming with life, began to wither anew, its edges creeping closer to the village with each passing day. The animals fled once more, leaving behind a silence that was oppressive, a silence that seemed to whisper of impending doom. In the village, a sense of dread settled over the inhabitants. It started as mere whispers, rumors of shadows moving at the edge of vision, of an unnatural chill that clung to the skin. Then, one by one, villagers began to disappear, their homes left untouched, their meals still warm on the table. Panic gripped the village, as the memory of the ice-cold hand resurfaced from the depths of their collective fear. The village elders, desperate to protect their people, sought out Elias, now revered as a sage and guardian. Though aged by time, her spirit remained as indomitable as ever. She listened to their tales of shadow and frost, her heart heavy with the knowledge that the curse she had thought vanquished was stirring once again. Determined to uncover the truth, Elias ventured into the forest, now a realm of twilight, its beauty twisted into a macabre tableau. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the ground was littered with the fallen leaves of dying trees. As she delved deeper into the forest, the temperature dropped, breath turning to mist in the air, until she found herself once again in the clearing that had been the heart of the curse, but it was changed. The altar, once a beacon of hope and liberation, was now shattered, its pieces scattered across the ground, encased in ice. And there, in the center of the clearing, stood a figure, its presence a vortex of cold that seemed to drain the very life from the world around it. The ice-cold hand, reborn, its form more terrifying than before, a manifestation of all the fear and despair it had ever consumed. Elias realized then that the spirit had never truly been freed, merely contained. Its anger and sorrow had festered, fed by the forgotten memories and unheeded warnings of the villagers. It sought to reclaim what it had lost, to extinguish the warmth of life and hope once and for all. With the forest and the village teetering on the brink of eternal winter, Elias understood that the spirit cycle of pain and vengeance had to end. She reached deep into the wellspring of her knowledge, calling upon ancient magics and the spirits of the forest for aid. The air around her hummed with power as she wove a spell of binding, not to imprison, but to heal. The spirit raged against her, a maelstrom of ice and shadow, but Elias stood firm, her voice a beacon in the darkness. She spoke of forgiveness, of the chains of vengeance that bound both victim and tormentor. As her words filled the clearing, the spirit's fury waned, its form becoming less defined, the ice melting away to reveal a glimpse of the soul it once was. Elias approached the spirit, her hand outstretched, not in defense, but in offering. She offered it release, not through destruction, but through understanding and acceptance. With a touch, the cycle was broken, the spirit's form dissipating in a shower of light, its sorrow finally given peace. The forest awakened as if from a long slumber, the ice retreating, life returning in a rush of green and bloom. The village, too, felt the warmth return, the shadows receding as hope was rekindled in the hearts of its people. Elias returned to the village, not as a conqueror, but as a messenger of a new beginning. The legend of the ice-cold hand would live on, not as a tale of fear, but as a reminder of the power of understanding and compassion, of the courage to face the darkness, not with weapons, but with an open heart. And in the heart of the forest, where once stood an altar of stone, now bloomed a garden, a testament to the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The spirits of the forest whispered among the leaves, carrying stories of darkness overcome by light, of an eternal winter melted away by the warmth of a single, brave soul. In the heart of a quiet town, veiled by the embrace of ancient oaks and whispering winds, stood a peculiar house. This was the residence of Mr. Elias Hargrave, known among the townsfolk as the doll collector. His abode, a crumbling Victorian relic, was the subject of many whispered tales and uneasy glances. The garden was overrun, its once-manicured hedges now wild, and the windows, with their heavy drapes, hid the secrets within like silent guardians. It was rumored that Mr. Hargrave's collection was not just vast but unnervingly lifelike, dolls with glassy eyes that seemed to follow your every move, with expressions so detailed they appeared to be frozen mid-emotion. What made these dolls even more disconcerting was their uncanny resemblance to past and present residents of the neighborhood, some of whom had mysteriously vanished over the years. The story begins with a new family moving into the neighborhood. The Browns, oblivious to the eerie legends, were charmed by the town's quaintness. Their daughter, Lily, an inquisitive girl of 12, was drawn to the mysteries surrounding Mr. Hargrave's house. Her parents warned her to steer clear, but the allure of the unknown was too strong for Lily to resist. One crisp autumn evening, Lily's curiosity got the better of her. She found herself standing before the iron gates of Mr. Hargrave's property. The setting sun cast long shadows, and the wind carried whispers from the past, urging her to turn back. But Lily pressed on, her heart racing as she slipped through the gates. The garden was like a maze, overgrown and wild. Thorns snagged at her clothes as she made her way to the front door. It stood ajar, as if inviting her in. The air was thick with dust and the smell of old fabric. Lily's steps echoed in the silence as she ventured deeper into the house. The dolls were everywhere. Shelves, tables, even chairs were covered with them. Their eyes seemed to watch her, and their faces bore expressions ranging from joy to sorrow, anger to fear. It was then that she spotted a doll that bore a striking resemblance to her friend Eva, who had disappeared the previous summer. The doll wore the same dress Eva had last been seen in, its hair styled in the same way. Panic surged through Lily as she realized the rumors might be true. As she turned to leave, she came face to face with Mr. Hargrave. His appearance was as peculiar as his reputation, tall, thin, with deep-set eyes that seemed to hold centuries of secrets. He spoke in a voice that was soft yet carried an underlying threat. "I see you've met my children," he said, gesturing to the dolls. "They're all I have. They never leave, you see. Unlike real people, they stay with me forever." Lily wanted to run, but her feet were rooted to the spot. Mr. Hargrave continued, "Each doll is a tribute, a memory of someone who once lived among us. Some chose to leave. Others I chose to keep." It was then that Lily understood the horrifying truth. The dolls were not just effigies, they were vessels, capturing the essence of the town's residents, some of whom Mr. Hargrave had taken a particular interest in. He explained how he mastered an ancient, forbidden craft, allowing him to bind the souls of the living to his dolls, ensuring they would never leave him. Lily's mind raced. She thought of her parents, her friends, and the life she still wanted to live. With a courage she didn't know she possessed, she made a dash for the door, Mr. Hargrave's laughter echoing behind her. She burst out into the night, the cold air filling her lungs. She didn't stop running until she reached her home, where she collapsed, sobbing, into her parents' arms. She told them everything, but when the authorities arrived at Mr. Hargrave's house, they found it empty. The dolls, the collector, all were gone, as if they had never existed. The town slowly moved on, but the house remained untouched, a silent monument to the mysteries it held. Lily grew up, but she never forgot. She would often catch herself staring at the old Hargrave house, wondering about the fates of those who had become part of the collection. And on some nights, when the wind whispered just right, she could swear she heard the faint laughter of Mr. Hargrave, reminding her that some secrets are never truly gone. Years passed, and the legend of the doll collector morphed into a chilling folklore, shared during hushed gatherings and around crackling campfires. The Hargrave house stood as a dilapidated sentinel, its darkened windows like blind eyes turned inward, harboring the shadows of untold stories. Lily, now an adult, found herself drawn back to the town she had once fled, a strange pull she couldn't resist. The mystery of the dolls, and of Mr. Hargrave's disappearance, lingered in her mind like a persistent whisper. The town had changed, but the unease surrounding the old Hargrave property remained. Children dared each other to approach the gates but never to touch them. Adults quickened their pace when passing by, avoiding the house's oppressive gaze. Yet, amidst the fear, there was also fascination, a collective yearning to uncover the truth. Lily's return sparked renewed interest in the Hargrave mystery. Armed with determination and a need for closure, she decided to delve deeper into the history of the house and its enigmatic owner. Her investigation led her to the local library's archives, where dusty tomes and ancient newspapers spoke of the Hargrave lineage, a family marked by tragedy and rumors of dark arts passed down through generations. As Lily pieced together the puzzle, she discovered that Mr. Elias Hargrave was the last of his line, obsessed with immortality and the preservation of beauty. His ancestors had dabbled in alchemy and necromancy, seeking to transcend the mortal coil. Elias, however, turned to a different craft, doll-making. But these were no ordinary dolls. Through a perverse alchemy of spirit and form, he sought to capture the very essence of a person, trapping their soul within a lifelike effigy. Determined to confront the past, Lily approached the Hargrave house once more. The air was thick with anticipation as she breached the threshold, the familiar scent of decay greeting her. The dolls were still there, an eerie tableau of frozen moments and stolen lives. As she moved through the rooms, she felt their eyes upon her, filled with silent pleas. That in the heart of the house, she found it, a hidden workshop, where the true horror of Elias Hargrave's craft was laid bare. Shelves lined with arcane books, diagrams of human anatomy, and a workbench cluttered with tools of a ghastly nature. And there, among the shadows, stood a new doll, incomplete, as if awaiting its final, vital component. Lily heard a voice, a mere whisper at first, growing stronger, more insistent. It was Mr. Hargrave, or rather, what was left of him. His essence, bound to the house and his creations, had lingered, trapped in a limbo of his own making. He spoke of loneliness, of a desire for companionship that twisted into madness. His dolls were not just a collection, they were his attempt to create a world where he would never be alone, a world that ultimately consumed him. With trembling hands, Lily found the doll that resembled Eva, her childhood friend. As she touched it, a flood of emotions washed over her, fear, sadness, and a deep, unyielding anger. It was then she understood what she must do. To free the souls trapped within these dolls, she had to break the cycle, to undo what Hargrave had wrought. Using the knowledge gleaned from Hargrave's own books, Lily began a ritual of release. It was a perilous task, for meddling with such forces could have unforeseen consequences. Yet, as she chanted the ancient words, the air around her shimmered, and the oppressive atmosphere began to lift. One by one, the dolls started to crumble, their forms dissolving into motes of light that danced through the air before vanishing. When it was done, Lily collapsed, exhausted but at peace. The house, its sinister aura dissipated, seemed just an ordinary ruin, reclaimed by time. She left that place, knowing she had liberated the souls bound by Hargrave's twisted legacy. The town slowly healed, the dark tales of the doll collector fading into legend. Yet, for those who remembered, the old Hargrave house remained a symbol of the thin veil between obsession and madness, and a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Lily never forgot her encounter with the shadows of the past. She dedicated her life to uncovering and dispelling other dark mysteries, always guided by the light of empathy and the strength found in facing one's fears. And though she would go on to face many more challenges, the story of the doll collector remained her most profound lesson, that even in the darkest of tales, there is always a path to redemption and hope.